like a deer in the headlights of love.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
I am the queen of the universe. The waves part.
Me engulf me and the water is warm.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Columbus, Ohio. I'm your cruise director Kristen, and this is the mall at Tuttle Crossing in the suburb of Dublin. I want to preface this video by telling you that this mall is not dead. It's at roughly 70% occupancy based on my observation, but there's more to see here than empty storefronts. This mall was developed by the legendary mall firm Taubman Company and carries many of the same trademark geometric accents and marble luxury as their other properties include Marley Station, Fairlane Town Center, and Stamford Town Center. It is in fact the only operating Taubman mall in Ohio. They're known for making visually stunning malls with architectural details rarely seen in other properties. Everything is asymmetrical. There are a lot of ramps, and it all sort of flows, the entire design having a way of keeping your eye moving and drawing you in because it doesn't settle in a corner. Only angles that lead to more angles, channels and ceilings that draw your eye down the corridors, and layers of natural and artificial light. The amount of natural light in here made it a special challenge to film. It's one of the only malls I've ever shot that I really had to pay a lot of attention to the settings on my camera in order to retain the details of the ceilings and design. Let's go back to 1993. Columbus's Northland, Eastland, and Westland malls are all still standing and operational, but they're aging. Columbus City Center, and now defunct downtown Taubman Mall, was operational and still fairly vital, but it was subject to the typical complaints about downtown malls: congestion, having to pay to park, having to walk possibly a couple blocks to get to the mall, and so on. The early plans to build a mall in Dublin were cemented when a zoning change was approved by voters, and 4 years later, on July 24, 1997, just in time for back-to-school season, the mall at Tuttle Crossing opened its doors. The mall was spearheaded by Taubman Company along with what was then known as Limited Brands, based in Columbus. In the 90s, Limited Brands was a juggernaut, the parent company of such mall staples as Victoria's Secret, Bath & Body Works, The Limited, Express, Structure, Lane Bryant, and Lerner. Limited Brands envisioned Tuttle Crossing as a showcase for all of their nameplates. In addition to those, the mall at Tuttle Crossing was home to the first Eddie Bauer home store, which occupied 2 levels, and a location of Pottery Barn, which at the time had only 12 brick-and-mortar locations that were an extension of their already successful catalog business. It also not only had a food court, but a cappuccino court on the lower level. Tuttle Crossing was originally anchored by Sears, Marshall Fields, Lazarus, and JCPenney. The first change to the anchor lineup was in 2003 when Marshall Fields was sold by Target Corporation to May Department Stores, and the Marshall Fields location became Kaufmann's. In 2005, when Federated Department Stores acquired May, the new Macy's Federated conglomerate began homogenizing all their various department store brands under the Macy's name. Tuttle Crossing was home to 2 Macy's locations at the time, the former Lazarus and the Kaufmann's, which was later called Macy's at Hayden Run. In the late 90s and early 2000s, Columbus was home to exponential growth in the retail sector. Prior to 1997, when Tuttle Crossing opened, they were home to the 3 directional land malls owned by the Jacobs Company in Columbus City Center downtown. Between 1999 and 2001, 2 more malls opened in Columbus, the retail juggernaut that is Easton Town Center, often cited among the most successful shopping complexes in the U.S., and Polaris Town Center on the far north end of the metro area. As a result of 3 new malls in 5 years, the old guard began to fade. Tuttle killed Westland, Polaris killed Northland, and Easton drew traffic away from the still limping along Eastland. Columbus City Center began to shed anchors in the early 2000s and closed entirely in 2009. Polaris not only served to put the final nail in Northland's coffin, but also diluted Tuttle's ultra-luxury image, being newer, bigger, and only 18 minutes away. And yes, I checked that drive time on Google Maps this time. You'll notice as we walk through here that it is still very nice, but it's no longer home to an Eddie Bauer home store or Nevada. The offerings here are slightly closer to middle versus upper class. The worrying part of that is that those are the chains that seem to be dropping like flies in the current retail climate, like Justice and Payless Shoes. Tuttle Crossing has lost 2 anchors in the last decade. Macy's at Hayden Run, the anchor that started as Marshall Fields, closed in 2007 and was replaced last year just in time for the pandemic by Scene 75 Entertainment. In March 2019, Sears closed, and there haven't been any plans announced for its replacement. Limited Brands began shedding its own chains in the late aughts, the first of which was the sale of the Limited to Sun Capital Brands, causing the company that no longer owned its flagship chain to change its name simply to L Brands as a term of the sale. In the same year, the Structure brand was sold to Sears, and the Express brand was sold to Golden Gate Capital Partners. Today, L Brands holds only one brand as sole owner, Bath & Body Works, with a 45% stake in Victoria's Secret. I suppose it's good news for them. Bath & Body Works has shown remarkable resilience even in dying malls, and I think it's because scent is so subjective that it's one of those retailers that is best to make a visit in person to. In an early example of how the internet can take a lie and turn it into a full-blown real-life panic, in 1999 Tuttle Crossing was the first mall among many to be subject of a proven false rumor that a mysterious stalker lurked in their parking lot. Like many email-based games of telephone, the nature of the stalker evolved with each forward, alternating between a security guard, to a man in a t-shirt and jeans, to a well-dressed man in an expensive suit holding a briefcase that would be left behind in the anonymous female victim's car, sinisterly later discovered to contain only a butcher knife and rope. The mall was barely a year old at this point, and the rumor reached an estimated 200,000 recipients and an untold amount of word-of-mouth sharing. This bad piece of publicity would mutate to be about many malls nationwide, reaching both coasts in the late 90s, and there was absolutely no basis for the rumor. Somehow, walking through here, the mall feels much older than 1997, and some of the marble and angles feels very reminiscent of the excessive 80s. If it were a person, she would have on something very elaborate and tailored with imposing shoulder pads. The Taubman style of design often feels like a femme fatale from a late 80s thriller. She's beautiful, but you might cut yourself on those sharp angles. It's not soft, it's not demure, it's assertive, and damn it knows what it wants, and most of all, it's intriguing, demanding of your attention, and makes you want to buy shiny, expensive things so you yourself can also be intriguing. It's a bit like being inside a designer perfume bottle, and just as intoxicating. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave us a like and subscribe if you want to be notified of future videos from our channel. A very special thank you to Phil, Eva, Dean, and all of our patrons for making this and other episodes possible. We are proud members of the Dead Malls of Discord family, and you can join us on Discord to chat by using the link in the description. As always, I'm your cruise director, Kristen, and this is Unicom Productions. I'll see you next time.